Good morning, this is Mona and this is my morning view. Today, August 1st, Summer Edition 2025, on my morning view, it is Feisty Friday. Feisty Friday, the day that everybody loves to catch. I don't find Feisty Friday my favorite, but it is enjoyable because I just get to say what's on my mind and I get to offend. And sometimes even myself. So today what I'm talking about is sorrow and suffering. If you've been watching me for a while, you will know that I've been reading Hind's Feet in High Places. And so the whole suffering and sorrow and suffering is like all along the journey. No one is exempt from sorrow and suffering. Not Jesus, not the apostles, not the martyrs through time, the Anabaptists, the Wycliffe, not King David. He's a king. He shouldn't have any sorrow and suffering, right? No, even he has sorrow and suffering. And you hear his lamentations in the Proverbs as he cries out to God about his sorrow and his suffering. And he's a man after God's own heart. And yet he has sorrow and suffering. It's something that we all will encounter. No one is exempt from it. So we try really hard to protect our children. And in the process of trying to protect our children, what happens is we've made them weak. There's the offense. How dare you? It's that, when we were growing up, our parents made sure we had some sorrow and suffering. And today it's like, oh no, we don't want to cause any hurt. We don't want to hurt any feelings. Sometimes people go through life appearing that they have no sorrow and no suffering. Like everything is a bed of roses. But let me remind you that every rose has a thorn. Not to quote Guns N' Roses. I think that's who sang that song. I'm not sure. But somebody sang it. But it's been a phrase forever, that as far as I can remember, that every rose has a thorn. You can GMO a rose, but then that doesn't protect the rose. You can remove the thorns so that someone else doesn't get pricked when you cut it. But it was designed to have thorns. So, in our attempt to give children a participation trophy in order for their feelings not to be hurt, you have set them up for a greater sorrow later on down the road. Because eventually, everybody goes through sorrow and suffering. And how you've built up your immune system, it's almost like that. You're building up your immune system. You have sorrow and suffering, and you live through it, and you grow stronger, and the next day, and the next day. And that's why when, people my age who have gone through sorrow and suffering, not everybody my age has yet, but, for the most part, everybody's sorrow and suffering may be very different in how each person can handle it. God knows. Listen to this. The saying is, God will not give you more than you can handle. Wrong. Wrong right there. It's my offense day. God will most definitely give you something that you cannot handle. Why? Glad you asked. Because he wants you to ask his help. He wants to do the journey with you. And if it's something you can handle, you're not going to ask his help. Right? So he deliberately puts things in your path that is more than you can handle. Now, mind you, God does not cause bad things to happen. Bad things happen, even to good people. There's a book about that. I think I read it back in 1981. So, bad things do happen to good people. And God does not cause them. But He wants to walk through it with you. Okay? He wants to walk through it with you. He weeps with you. He cries with you. God has emotions. And when you're hurt, He's hurt. Sorrow and suffering. Nobody's exempt. I think about some of those people that we look at that looks like everything comes up roses for them. And it reminds me of something. See, we had a pretty good rainstorm yesterday. And some areas got it worse than us. Yeah. So in that, it reminded me, I live on top of a mountain. Now, sometimes the clouds come from these storms and they hit our mountain and they dissipate. No storm. No storm for me. How many times I let my summer flowers thirst because I know it's going to rain. It's going to rain. It said it's going to rain. And then it doesn't rain. And then they ended up being like heat exhausted and going, oh God, just a drop of water. Just tip some water on my tongue. That's how the flowers feel around this place. Because other times, the storm comes and it goes around the mountain. No rain for me on top of my mountain. And there are other times when the rain comes and the lightning comes and the thunder comes and everything comes and it looks like torrential downpours on top of the mountain. And you know what happens when it rains on top of a mountain? It flows into the valley. Sometimes it flows over crags and cliffs, aka waterfalls. Some rain falls in the valley. Some rain falls in the valley. And I started thinking about that as far as our lives. You know, you have these people that live on the mountaintop. Everything always comes up rosy. It rains onto the mountaintop. And then you have those in the valley that struggle with flooding and as the rains come pouring down, and the water from the mountain comes pouring down because that's what water does. It runs down to the bottom. And when it runs down to the bottom, it meets the rain that's already at the bottom. And so the people at the valley are feeling more sorrow and more struggle and more suffering. And they note it. And other people notice as well. It's like we get all this pain and suffering while they sit up on their mountaintop and everything's glorious. While their flowers thirst. Just a side note. But you have to remember that no one is exempt. And so there's going to be a time when that rain that falls has to go down into the valley. And so those that get to fall on the mountaintop, picturing us as raindrops, human beings, we're raindrops in this analogy, they fall onto the mountaintops, but eventually they go into the valley of sorrow and suffering. Will their suffering be as great as maybe yours? Will it be greater? Because the higher they are, the bigger the fall. Not necessarily. Because it's all on our perspective of our sorrow and suffering. See, yesterday I talked about joy. And I talked about joy coming from within and not circumstantial. Like all the other emotions are affected by the things that are outside of us. Things that have happened to us in our life. That has formed these markers of disappointment and anger and frustration and sadness and all of that. And so when those circumstances get riled up, our emotions get riled up. And where our emotions get riled up, it is an external that the emotions were caused by external circumstances. But when joy rises up, the circumstances can be bleak, or the circumstances can be marvelous. It doesn't matter, because joy comes from within. The joy of the Lord is our strength. I talked about it yesterday. So as you're going through sorrow and suffering, when you rise up that joy within you, when you bring that joy up, and you walk in that place of peace. See, I teach about peace, walking in peace daily. That's what I do. That's my thing. Walking in peace daily. It doesn't mean that there are times in the day that I don't lose my peace. There is. But you know what? I can bring it back really quick. Really quick. Because I practice it daily. Or at least I try to practice it daily. Let's be honest with myself. Lately I have not been practicing it daily. And sometimes those things that cause me to lose my peace come up much faster. Because it's like, oh, she's unguarded. She hasn't trained in a while. But remember that there are those things in life that no matter how much practice, because like I said, God has things outside of our comfort zone. God has things that are more than we can handle. Why? Because He wants us to invite Him into the circumstance. He wants us to invite Him into this journey together. And when you do that, that joy grows. And He brings peace beyond understanding. Like, I don't understand it. You don't understand it. The human mind can't wrap around why somebody who is in, like, horrible circumstances can have peace. Don't you have any emotions, person? Don't you have any thought about what's going on around you? You just got flooded. You just had raging torrents come in, and you had friends and family pass away, and you had all this stuff going on. And you're at peace? You can imagine some of the interviews that I have heard of people who have been in circumstances where they've lost everything. And they're like, it's just stuff. And those that lost loved ones, and they're going, I'll see them again. When God brings you that peace beyond understanding, in the midst of your sorrow and suffering, we're not denying our feelings that we're sad about our loved ones. That's not a denial. Because a denial, you're going to have to face it later. And it may come up when you least expect it. You could be in the middle of a grocery store and just break down, weeping, because it just hits you. You don't bury your stuff. This isn't about burying your stuff. But you go through suffering and sorrow and suffering with joy. And praise to the Father that it's making you stronger. That you could face things. Why? Because you have a partner. You have a partner that is doing this journey with you. You don't have to do it alone. Sorrow and suffering, no one's exempt. Not Jesus, not the apostles, not King David, not the martyrs, not me, not you. If you haven't gone through suffering and sorrow, brace yourself. If you didn't learn some sorrow and suffering growing up, you're going to learn. And how well you take it depends on your connection to your partner. Jesus will give you the peace beyond understanding, but you're going to have some sorrow and suffering, because no one's exempt. And that is my morning view. All right. Commercial time, because I didn't do it before. If you have not yet done so, I am on YouTube, Mona E. Harrison. It's different than my Facebook profile. So go over to YouTube, Mona E. Harrison, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications, hit all the bells and whistles. You can watch these on fast speed. Yes, you can. And you don't have to watch them. You don't have to look at my beautiful face unless you want to. You may just listen to it on fast feed while you're doing your chores, while you're doing the dishes, while you're doing your hobbies, while you're relaxing, whatever. I make it easy for you. All right. So both on Facebook and on YouTube, go ahead, like, comment, and share. I like comments. I read them. I don't always remember to hit the button that shows that I read them. But I do read them eventually. And here I'm asking you to make sure you like it. Make sure you like it. Because I know that I forget. That's why I tell you to go ahead and like it, because I forget. I'll watch something. Oh, that was really great. Next. And it's like, oh, I got to go find it now because I forgot to like it. That's if I remember. So go ahead and like it. And I will see you on Monday for our continuing series of the Lord's Prayer. All right. Blessings, everybody. Have a great day, and I will see you Monday.